Do you ever feel like your life is slipping through your fingers while you're fast asleep? You hit that snooze button, desperately hoping for 5 more minutes of peace. But that peace is a lie. You've tried to change before, haven't you? Yet, the heavy weight of regret runs. A devastating cost to pay for a life that feels like it's going nowhere. What if the secret to your destiny isn't more effort, but a new understanding of silence? Think about a hidden ritual that turns a broken man into a master of his own time. This isn't just a schedule, it's a secret weapon that few possess and fewer understand. It's time you stopped reacting and started creating the legacy you were meant to leave. We're about to dive into the story of Thomas, a man who started from absolute zero, trapped in a cage of survival. But he discovered a blueprint that changed everything, a path from desperation to power. He found the one thing most people lose before they even open their eye. But as you'll see, Thomas didn't just find time. He found a way to stop carrying the heavy stone that were never his to begin with. Before I show you the exact math Thomas used to reclaim 45 days of his life every year, you first need to understand the invisible morning hangover that is currently sabotaging your soul. The blue light of the smartphone flickers, cutting through the thick shadows of a cluttered bedroom. Thomas reaches out, a heavy hand fumbling to hit that seductive snooze button once again. It feels like a small victory for his tired body, but it's actually a massive blow to the man he is trying to become. That extra 5 minutes isn't rest. It's a suffocating anchor dragging him down into the dark. When he finally crawls out at 8:15 a.m., the morning hangover hits him like a physical punch, a bitter taste of immediate regret without a single drop of alcohol. The world has been spinning for hours, and Thomas is already behind on his own life's clock. He looks at the mess, the empty wrappers and half-read books, and feels a cold, familiar knot in his gut. It's the realization that he's reacting to life rather than living it, like a leaf scattered by the wind. But here is the truth most people miss. Thomas isn't just tired, he's carrying an invisible debt. He's losing a race he didn't even know he'd join. What Thomas doesn't realize yet, and what you might be feeling right now, is that this exhaustion isn't just about sleep. It's the weight of stone he's picked up from a world that demands his time, his attention, and his peace. But what if I told you there's a specific mathematical formula that proves Thomas was literally throwing away a fortune every morning? Before we look at the number, you need to see the blueprint that the masters use to build empire while you're still dreaming. Most folks think the day starts when they walk into the office, but that's a total lie. While the masses wake up to react, frantically checking emails and notifications before they've even had a glass of water, the masters of this game wake up to create. They are building their empire while the rest of the city is still fast asleep. This isn't just about waking up early. It's a secret blueprint, a hidden map to greatness that only reveals itself when the stars are still out. There is a profound, almost cinematic power in that pre-dawn air. It's crisp, cool, and smells like a fresh start. While your neighbor is dreaming of success, you're out there in the dark, laying the first stone of your future. You see, your destiny isn't decided in a boring board meeting or a frantic afternoon of answering endless, noisy phone calls. It is forged in the quiet, when you decide that your dreams are worth more than a warm, fuzzy blanket. But here is the mystery. Thomas was still trapped in a cage of his own making, unaware that the clock is either a tool or a prison. He was about to discover that the stones he was carrying weren't just mental. They were literally draining his bank account and his vitality. But before we see how he broke those chains, we have to look at the broken man he used to be. Because the reason he couldn't wake up wasn't laziness, but a weight you might be carrying right now without even knowing it. Thomas drags his feet through the fluorescent-lit aisles of a job that drains his very soul every single day. It's one of those dead-end gigs where the clock seems to tick backwards just to spite your tired heart. Every shift feels like a heavy payment on a debt he never signed for, leaving him bone dry and weary. Honestly, it's a miracle he even finds the strength to tie his laces before heading out into the gray. His bank account is a digital graveyard where insufficient funds alerts pop up like ghosts of his dead dream. He stares at the ATM screen, the cold wind whipping through his thin jacket, feeling that sharp, familiar sting. He represents everyone who's ever felt stuck in survival mode, trapped in a loop of coffee, chores, and chaos. But here is what Thomas didn't understand yet. He wasn't broken because he was weak. He was broken because the weight of the world had become too much for one man to carry. He was carrying the expectations of his boss, the pressures of society, and the guilt of his past. Heavy stones that were never his to carry in the first place. He was a broken man, waving a white flag, living a life that was just a blurry smudge of missed opportunities. But the universe was about to hand him a bill he couldn't afford to ignore. Something was about to happen, a moment of such intense failure that it would force him to choose between sinking forever or finally learning how to drop the weight. And what happens next is the exact moment that changes everything. The phone vibrates against the nightstand, but the sound is lost in the fog of a heavy, suffocating sleep. By the time Thomas jolts awake, the clock shows 9:30 a.m. His big interview was over half an hour ago. His heart hammers against his ribs like a trapped bird, frantic and useless in the morning's harsh, unforgiving light. He'd blown his only shot at an escape, all because he couldn't beat the siren song of the snooze button. He tries to scramble, pulling on a wrinkled shirt, while his mind races through a dozen weak excuses. But the truth is, a bitter pill. He is scattered, a man trying to catch smoke with his bare hands. It wasn't just a missed meeting, it was the final straw in a life defined by almost. He stands before the bathroom mirror, looking at a stranger whose eyes look like they belong to someone who's already given up. In that cold, quiet moment, the math of his misery finally clicks into place. He realizes he can't keep living backward, throwing his best hours away to a pillow that gives nothing back. But what Thomas was about to find out, and what most people never discover, is that the fog his brain wasn't caused by a lack of sleep. It was caused by a specific type of mental clutter that keeps your internal clock permanently out of sync. He stepped out into the morning air, desperate for a change. And that's when he noticed a figure in the park, a man who seemed to be living in a different dimension of time altogether. Before I tell you the 3 words this man said that shattered Thomas's world, you need to see the logic of the elite that turns hours into a literal fortune. Thomas wandered into the park at 5:30 a.m., the mist clinging to the grass like a cold, damp blanket. There, he spotted an old man, Mr. Sterling, sitting with a posture that put younger men to shame. Sterling didn't look tired. He looked like he was vibrating with a quiet, refined power that defied his age. While the city was a graveyard of sleep, this man was as sharp as a freshly honed razor blade. Sterling was wealthy, but his real riches were in his eyes. They were unnervingly bright. Thomas approached him, feeling like a ghost, his own exhaustion making him feel heavy and out of place. It was a meeting of 2 worlds. One man owned the dawn, while the other was still being hunted by it. "Sit down, son," Sterling said, his voice smooth as leather. He didn't offer a handout. He offered a perspective that felt like a bolt of lightning. He whispered, "Most men die at 30, but they aren't buried until 80 because they stopped owning their morning." Thomas felt a chill as he realized he had been signing a contract with a mediocre life every time he hit snooze. Sterling explained that the morning is the alchemist's hour, where leaden intentions are turned into pure golden action. But then, the old man said something that made Thomas's heart stop. He revealed that the reason Thomas felt so heavy wasn't just his schedule, it was because he was trying to climb a mountain while carrying a backpack full of other people's expectations. You can't own the dawn if you're still carrying the weight of yesterday's stone, Sterling warned. But how exactly do you drop those stones when they feel like part of your very soul? Before Sterling revealed the math of greatness, he hinted at a specific ritual of letting go that most people ignore. A ritual that I will reveal to you in just a moment. Sterling pulled a worn fountain pen from his pocket and began scrawling numbers on a wrinkled white napkin. "Listen close, Thomas," he said, the scratch of the pen echoing in the quiet of the empty park. "If you wake at 5 instead of 8, you've just clawed back 3 golden hours from the void. Most folks treat time like loose change, but here, every single minute is a brick in your future castle." The universe doesn't care about your feelings. It only cares about output. 3 hours a day adds up to 21 hours a week. That's nearly a whole extra day of living. Over a single year, you've stacked up over 1,000 hours of pure, uninterrupted creative power. Thomas, I am handing you 45 extra days of life every single year, Sterling said with a grin. While the rest of the world lives 12 months, you'll be living 15. In those extra months, you could master a language or learn high-income skills like coding. You aren't just getting ahead, you're literally operating on a different timeline than everyone you know. Thomas stared at the napkin, realizing he'd been throwing away a fortune. But as his mind raced, Sterling dropped a final, heavier truth. The math only works, Thomas, if you stop the leaks in your soul first. He explained that most people try to wake up early, but fail because they haven't unplugged the emotional drains that keep them exhausted, a concept so vital that without it, the 5 a.m. club is just another form of torture. Before I reveal the iron protocol that makes this math sustainable, you need to see the one mistake that makes 99% of people quit by day 3. Thomas leaned in as Sterling laid out the blueprint for what he called the Alchemist's Hour. It wasn't some fuzzy, feel-good routine. It was a cold-blooded system designed to sharpen a man's edge. Sterling called it the Iron Protocol, a $20 split that turns a groggy, cluttered mind into a precision instrument. Most folks just wander into their day, but this is about coming out of the gate swinging hard. The first 20 minutes are for high-intensity move to flush out the biological cobwebs of sleep. The second 20 are for deep mindset work, meditation or journaling, to defragment your brain like an old computer. The final 20 are for high-value skill building, like mastering data analysis or a new language. But Sterling's voice turned sharp as he barked out the 3 iron rule. 1. No smartphone for the first 60 minutes. Don't let the world's noise drown out your own voice. 2. Follow the rule of 1. Tackle your most terrifying task first. 3. The no negotiation policy. Your alarm is a sacred contract with your future self. Thomas felt a mix of excitement and a creeping, icy dread. It sounded simple on paper, but he knew his old habits were lurking in the shadow. What Sterling didn't tell him, but what you need to know, is that the Iron Protocol becomes an impossible burden if you are still mentally carrying the weight of you need to please. In fact, there is one specific emotional anchor that causes most people to fail this protocol within the first 48 hours. Thomas was about to face a first-week war that would test if he had truly let go of his past. And wait until you see the glimpse of God he found on the other side of the pain. The first morning felt like a punch to the gut when the 5 a.m. alarm finally screamed. The room was bone-chillingly cold, and the bed felt like a warm, siren-filled sanctuary he didn't want to leave. Thomas's brain was a mess of excuses, whispering that he could just start tomorrow instead of today. Man, that first step onto the floor is where most people fold their cards and quit the game. Days 2 and 3 weren't any easier. His body felt like it was moving through thick, heavy molasses. The silence of the house was deafening, a hollow ringing that made his self-doubt feel much louder. He felt like a walking zombie, wondering if he'd just made a huge, exhausting mistake. It's the dip where the excitement fades and the cold, hard reality of discipline starts to bite back. But then came day 4, and something shifted in the quiet air while the world was still dark. As he sat with his coffee, he experienced what the masters call the glimpse of God in the silence. There was an electric peace in being the only soul awake in a neighborhood of sleepers. He wasn't just getting work done, he was reclaiming a territory of his mind that he'd long abandoned. He finally saw that the 5 a.m. ritual isn't just about productivity. It's a ritual of radical self-respect. But what Thomas realized in that sacred silence was startling. The reason the first 3 days were so heavy wasn't lack of sleep. It was the ghost of the man he was trying to leave behind. He was still mentally clutching the stones of his old failure, and they were fighting back. Before I show you the incredible harvest of results Thomas reaped just 6 months later, I need to tell you about the identity surgery he performed that made his success permanent, and why most people fail because they forget this one crucial step. 6 months have swept by like a fast-moving tide, leaving the old Thomas completely behind in the dust. The man who used to stumble toward the coffee pot at 9 is now a distant, blurry memory. His eyes are sharp, his posture is solid, and there's a quiet, steady confidence in every single step. He's no longer chasing the day, he's leading it, moving with the grace of someone who truly knows the path. Those extra months he carved out of the dawn weren't spent idly, they were spent building a fortress. Because he dedicated his alchemist's hour to mastering high-income skills, the result was a high-paying promotion that wiped those insufficient funds alerts off the map forever. He didn't just get lucky, he outworked the competition while they were busy dreaming about success. We see him now, financially free, standing with an unshakable calm that radiates from his very soul. The broken man is a ghost, a shadow that can't survive in the bright light of this new reality. He realized that success isn't something you pursue, but something you attract by the person you become. He didn't just change his schedule, he performed a deep-level surgery on his entire identity. But here is the final secret Sterling shared with on his last day in the park. Most people will reach this level and then lose it all because they haven't learned how to protect their peace from the thieves of time. Thomas stayed at the top because he understood something about the weight of stone that 99% of people ignore, and it involves a specific way of saying no that actually draws people closer to you rather than pushing them away. Before we open the doors for you to join this elite circle, you need to see the covenant that ensures you never slide back into your old, tired life ever again. Thomas looks out at the golden sunrise now, knowing the 5 a.m. club isn't just a name. It's a gritty, early morning commitment to a higher self that most people simply can't handle. It's a covenant made in the cold and the dark, long before the world starts demanding your energy. This is the ultimate secret weapon for anyone tired of living life in the passenger seat. The truth is, nobody needs another life hack or a fancy planner. They need a spine of pure, solid steel. The snooze button is a lie that sells you comfort while it quietly steals your greatest dream. Most folks spend years waiting for a perfect time that is never actually coming. I want you to draw a line in the sand right now. If you are ready to stop being a spectator and start owning your potential, write day 1 in the comments below. By typing those words, you are signing a digital contract with this entire community of early risers. You are declaring that the almosts are over. But here is the warning. Many will type those words, but only a few will actually see the light tomorrow. Why? Because most people try to build a new life on top of old, heavy baggage. They try to wake up at 5 a.m. while still carrying the stones of people-pleasing, past guilt and emotional exhaustion. In just a few seconds, I'm going to show you how to ensure your day 1 doesn't become another one day. By revealing the precise method to drop the weights that make the morning feel impossible. Thomas changed his life with a single decision, and there is absolutely nothing stopping from doing the same. But let's be honest, the reason you haven't started isn't because you lack a clock, it's because you lack the strength to climb out of bed while your soul is still weighed down by stone. Many of the stories you hear here aren't just stories. They reflect the invisible weight you may be carrying every day. If you're tired of holding pain, responsibility, and guilt that were never yours, I created a specific roadmap for this journey. The reason Thomas succeeded where others fail is because he followed the principles found in my ebook, The Weight of Stones That Are Not Yours. It's for those who want to finally let go of the past, set firm boundaries, and live with the lightness that Sterling and Thomas discovered. To ensure you never slide back into the morning hangover, I'm including 2 essential tools for your first 90 days. Bonus 1. Learning to let go. This is the manual for that identity surgery. It teaches you how to release the specific stones of regret that keep you pinned to your pillow. Bonus 2. When saying no is an act of self-love. This is the key to the no negotiation policy. You can't own your morning if you don't know how to say no to the world's demand. This is the exact wake-up call you've been searching for. You can't afford to miss what happens when you finally decide to own the dawn. The broken man within you is ready to be left behind, but he will only stay gone if you have the right system to keep your spirit light. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Will you continue to let your life slip through your fingers, or are you ready to show the world exactly what you're really made of?